This is the ZMAR Podcast. Elite Benefits of America helps small and mid-sized companies with their health insurance programs. And now, your host, Butch ZMAR.
So you get out of it what you put into it, whether it's at home, in business, your health, even just any type of outcomes that you want. It's about what you put into it is what you get out of it. So, like one example, many of the listeners here know that I'm an avid runner, and a couple years ago I tried to attempt a 50-mile run for the second time, and there was just a lack of schedule for long runs, and that was one of my issues running into it. There was other issues in the run that caused me not to finish, but again, it's what you put into it and what you get out of it. So I didn't invest enough time to make it work compared to the first time when I completed the 50-mile run. But the same thing goes in business. So I'm going to talk about a little bit about the renewal with the increase and how much time you should be invested, because what you're going to get out of it, what you put into it. A common thing I've heard is any increase is already too much, right? And when it comes to benefit spending, it's a typical response that healthcare costs go up every year. But one thing they always forget is they're also 1 year older. And what does that really mean, right? And so you're 1 year closer to more claims. You're more likely to have major claims. So therefore, there's an increase in costs. So therefore, how can they justify paying for claims if they're not charging enough for that age bracket or that risk model, depending on where you're at in the country, or maybe the size of the group and how much risk the group actually has. So there's a dynamic with inside the company. But overall, the average increase has been 10% over the last 5 years for most small and medium-sized companies. Of course, they're saying that the rule of 72, it's going to double in 7 years, but they're actually talking about it's going to be under 6 years from now that it's going to double again. So there's things you're going to have to do. And one of those things I'm going to address today is time. So when we just look at averages for this podcast, I just use an average increase per individual of about $100 a month. That's a little bit under 10% of the national premium for small employer or mid-sized employer plans. But it'll at least give us as a basis for easy math as we walk through some math analogy and how much time you're actually spending. It's about $100 per member per month. And so even if you had a family of 5, that's $500 a month. $500 is a lot. And some people look at that as a whole, but is it worth $100 more to cover increased risk that you may have at the hospital? Because obviously cost has gone up. And I'm not justifying the $100 increase. I'm just saying that if a hospital stay is $30,000 and that cost keeps going up each and every single year, for you to pay $100 a month to make sure that you're not financially exposed or in a medical bankruptcy situation, I think you have to analyze it a little bit differently in order to justify the cost. Because we don't have any control, right? There's no leverage unless you actually invest into it. When you're a smaller company or buying private insurance, you have less leverage, or zero for that matter. You just kind of have to play with the numbers as they roll and adjust your income and other expenses accordingly. And not saying that's the right thing to do, but it's just something that we're forced to do because of that expense in order to maintain health insurance coverage. So, and money's tight all around. Inflation's, one of the highest in at least our generation. And so it's important, but we also have to look at how to evaluate this, especially from a company level. And when we look at it from an employer standpoint, evaluating their benefits, even if you use the math of, $1,200, and even if you're a solopreneur, you have an increase of $1,200 a year, but how much time are you investing to try to figure out if you could actually lower that premium? And so just to give you an example, what is your time worth? Is it $25 an hour, $50 an hour, $100 an hour, maybe even $250 an hour? So even if we use $250 an hour and I'm just rounding here, is that how much is your time worth? So even if you just wanted to break even and keep the renewal medical insurance at zero increase, and you were getting paid $250 an hour, you're almost 5 hours, but let's just say 4 hours. When's the last time you invested 4 hours just to try to save $1,200? Usually you don't. You probably say, well, I only got 30 minutes, or you only invest 30 minutes into it and that's it. You just expect outcomes to say, well, I need to get this premium down. It's getting too expensive. But when are you going to invest time? So let's take it to an employer level of about 150 employees. And let's just say there's 98 enrolled, right? And this is a small case study that we worked on. And so this could be typical for an employer about the same number of employees and enrollments. So, and I just used an average of 2 members per employee. That's between employee only, so you got 1, but employee spouse, that's 2. Employee children could be 2 or more, and then family could be 3 or more. And so I'm just going to use average of 2. It could be more, it could be less, but let's just say 2 members per policy. So 98 times 2 members, you're looking at 196 enrollments, right? And so you're talking about $1,200 per year increase. And so you're talking about a $235,000 increase, right? And so, and that's just, we're just using rough numbers. There's increases that are much larger than this. And I'm just talking about the time invested and what it's worth, right? So let's just say in this situation, it's $235,000 increase on your benefit spend just based on a per member increase. It's usually an overall percentage, but we're using per member right now. So who's going to be involved in this situation, right? So let's just say in a real perfect world, who should be investing time at the table? It should be the CFO, the HR, and the owner or partner or investor that's got financial investment in there, because they need to have skin in the game too. And let's just say all 3 of you combined, you're getting paid $1,000 an hour. And I'm not saying that, it's just a rough number, thousands even, so let's just go with it. And let's just say it's times 2. We're just going to put a fudge factor in there, and it's 2,000. And even just to be more conservative here, we're going to say $4,000 an hour. And so if you invest that time to make a 0% increase on a $235,000 increase, then you're investing almost 60 hours worth of time. And the reality is you're not investing 60 hours, and that's just the break even. But no one's even putting in a fraction of that. It doesn't take even 20 hours to actually try to invest. The broker might put 20 hours in based on intellectual property and some past experiences, and that's what they're being compensated for, right? And so that's why the commissions are built in. Maybe some of them are charging fee. Maybe some are charging proposal fees on top of the commissions, and that's all fine as long as there's value there. But let's just say that your entire team invested 20 hours. And so between the HR, CFO, and the owner, you're investing 20 hours. And let's just say payroll's $4,000 an hour for all 3 of you times 20, that's $80,000. It's no small amount of money for sure. And so, but we're talking about the time invested versus the rate of return on saving money on the benefit spending. So let's implement some playbook strategies to save money on 98 employees enrolled. Your premium base is $1.6 million. And let's just say we implement some of these strategies and you reverse the trend by 20%. So you're saving $330,000 in premium just by investing some time. But let's just factor some of that cost in, right? So you got $80,000 in staff over 25 hours combined. It's not going to take that much, but I'm just using numbers here to show you that you need more than 30 minutes to put this together. So, but I think, if you want to break down a certain amount of hours, HR and CFO probably put in 14 of the 20 hours, and the owner's probably got 6 invested, right? So, we're saving $330,000, which if you divide that over the 20 hours, it's worth your while at $16,000 an hour. So essentially you could look at it and say, hey, we're going to get paid $16,000 an hour just to break even or have a 0% increase. So if you think about it, what task or revenue generating activity that could actually bring you in as an individual, or you 3 people at the conference table, bringing in $16,000 an hour in revenue. And usually it's unheard of. As a company, that could be a little bit more common, but not as individual or even just a team of 3. Most companies spend more time doing Christmas parties than planning for their benefit spending. So how much time are you going to put in there?
Listen up, Butch wants to give you your own Elite Benefits Playbook, and it's absolutely free. From business strategy to benefits strategy, every step from the start through implementation, account setup, and open enrollment, working through service requests and the process of renewals. A valuable look at your company, your insurance options, and how to make the process easier on you. Go now to elitebenefits.net/playbook and get your free Elite Benefits Playbook, or give Butch a call today, 708-535-3006.
So a quick story, and we talked about this on other podcasts, where we showed up for a renewal, and this happens every time there's a medical renewal, almost every time. We show up for the meeting, and some guy shows up in the room. It could be HR, it could be CFO, it could be middle management, who knows. But they walk in and they said, hey, cut to the chase. You only got 5 minutes to go over this renewal. Well, let's think about it. In order to save $300,000, we need to invest a little bit more than 5 minutes. How much time are you willing to invest for $300,000 worth of savings? Some will say, I just ain't got the time, right? Well, that's a problem, because you can't complain about this increase and not invest the time. So next year is going to be another $300,000 increase. So now you're $600,000 without investing in nearly enough time to actually reverse that trend. And so if you think about it, when you break it down, if we're able to reverse it and just go back to zero, let alone even bring it back the other way and reverse the trend, and because there's some renewals, once you start doing the playbook, that you could actually get a decrease in the second year renewal, or even the third for that matter. But it doesn't happen often, but it's about controlling that cost and going forward. And if you're able to save $300,000, what is that time worth, right? And what can you allocate your other resources to, that you could free up your time to actually go after and save $300,000 for the company? So I'm just saying, don't let this happen to you. Obviously, get your playbook, invest the time that's needed so you get an ROI on the renewal. Even for 2023, you still have, going into 2024, you still have time. And then you also have all next year. So if you're a medium-sized company, maybe your renewals are already done. But I would start that playbook strategy right now, so that when next year's renewal comes in, that you're not shocked by another increase, and you're already implementing strategies over 6 months to help soften the increase in effect to even reverse the trend.